No extra special props other than what we usually use, which is our block and our strap and our ball. We're going to use our ball today, I think. If you have one, if you don't, it's okay. We'll do some massage and some of our basic self-care things. So, before we get started, let's, with our theme and things like that, why don't we start with just some basic movement for the spine, just to wake everything up and get us ready for some breathing. So since I'm sitting, why don't we start with our sitting and just moving from side to side. So bring one hand to the floor and one hand up, and then exhale over. And you can do this from a chair. And then change sides. Inhale as you reach up first. Fill up those lungs. And then exhale, just a little lean. Being careful not to collapse into the lean, but reach up and diagonally. Good. And let's do that a few times. Just breathing in, expanding, breathing out. Getting a nice stretch in that rib cage. Let's do another one. Good. And then let's make some shoulder circles really big. And just as you're doing this, just noticing how the shoulders are moving. So go really slow, up, back, and down. If you go really slow, you might notice that the shoulders move a little differently from each other. Maybe one is smoother than the other. Maybe you've got some crackling and crunching sounds. Maybe it's silent. Reverse your circles. Make them nice and big. I'm just noticing how the shoulders are moving this morning. And then pause. And without moving your shoulders, just turn your head to look over your right shoulder. Just looking one direction. Go as far as you can without moving your shoulders. And take a breath in, and as you exhale, look to center, and then breathe in, look to the other side, and exhale back to center. And do that on your own a couple of times, and just notice your range of motion in your neck, in the rotation of your neck. Good, and then just bringing the chin toward the chest slowly. Noticing if your chin can actually touch your chest or get close to your chest and where you feel that in the back of your neck. And then slowly starting to look up without letting your head drop all the way back, just looking up and looking down. And then start to do little half circles with your neck. So just from side to side, reaching into those muscles in the back of the neck. Good. And then back to center. So we'll come into our tabletop posture for cat and cow with the knees under the hips and the wrists under the shoulders, and just start to explore your range of motion. And as I mentioned, most of the time in our classes, if you have osteoporosis, you'll want to avoid rounding the back and focus more on the extension of the back, the belly reaching toward the floor and the sits bones reaching up. And let your head go as you round. And slowing down enough to notice the quality of movement in the spine. Are there any places that feel a little stickier or less smooth? Are there sections in the spine that seem like they move all together in one group? Are you able to imagine all of these vertebrae moving independently from each other? And then coming back to flat tabletop, just start to wag your tail. Let's lift the left foot off the floor and move the left foot from side to side, and then just look back and try to get a glimpse of it. And connect this movement of the foot and the ribs with your breathing. So as you're in a side bend, you can take a big breath in, which will stretch out the ribs. And then exhale through center, and inhale, wag to the other side. And exhale to center, and then changing feet. So also if your wrists get tired, like mine are kind of tired, so just coming onto the knuckles if you need to. Lift the other foot and wag and breathe. And open up those ribs and the muscles between them. And then place that foot down and take a child's pose for a moment and get into that lower back, just stretching the arms out in front of you if that works for your body, and letting the weight of your hips settle toward your heels or toward the floor. Let the weight of your forehead be held by the floor or block or your hands. You can stack your hands. So reach your hands forward and then walk them over to your left side. So the hands walk to the left, and place your right hand on top of your left hand. And as you reach to your left, I want you to focus on rooting your right hip toward your heel or toward the floor. So you're really getting a side body stretch here. Getting into the muscles of the underarm area. Good, and then walk your hands over to the right. Place your left hand on top of your right hand. And press back through the left hip so you really stretch the side body. And breathe here. And then walk your hands back to center and come back up to tabletop posture. But this time we'll have a hand out in front of us a little farther. So maybe about 8 inches to a foot past the shoulders. And then we'll keep the buns up, but bring the chest and the head back down again for puppy pose. Rest your head on the floor if you can. And press into the floor so much that your elbows lift a little off the floor. And take a big breath in. And retain the breath for a couple of seconds just to feel a stretch across the diaphragm and below the ribs in the front. And then exhale, let out a sigh. Again, breathing in. Retain the breath. Exhale. Good, and then bring your hips back towards your heels and bring your arms close to your body this time and just rest in child's pose. Okay, come on up to a seat. You can use a block to sit on if you'd like to, or you can move to a chair if you need to at this point. So just a little bit of 5 minutes of movement, just noticing how you feel moving through all the spinal movement, right? The flexion and extension, some rotation, some lateral side bending, really opening up the ribs, and just notice your breath. And we'll practice today dirga, is the Sanskrit word dirga, and that means 3-part breath. And so some of you may have done this before, so it will be a review for you. And for some of you, it will be new. So in 3-part breath, what we do is we isolate the 3 different areas of the upper body, and we practice expanding those areas individually, and then we connect them all. And this is a really good breathing pranayama technique for sleeping and for stress reduction. So to help, you might bring your hands to your lower belly. And as we move through this, see if you can keep your attention on this part of your body, the lower part, rather than building tension in the shoulders. So see if you can keep those shoulders relaxed. And your eyes might close for focus. And start to just breathing in through the nose. See if you can get that lower belly to expand a little bit. You might feel it under your hands. And then as soon as it feels full, you can exhale through your nose, press all the air out. Now, the ribs and the chest might move. It's very natural if they start to move, but the focus is on the lower belly and the lower back. You might even imagine a balloon in that lower pelvis area and the lower belly. And as you're breathing, you're slowly filling the balloon and then exhaling, emptying the balloon. You might also notice that it doesn't take very long for your lungs to feel full when you're just focusing on that lower belly. Now you can bring your hands to your rib cage, right at the top of the ribs and to the sides, if that's comfortable for you. And this time, just imagining that area expanding. So the rib cage, imagine it like an umbrella. And as you breathe in, focusing on expanding the umbrella from side to side and from front to back. Again, exhaling all the air out, really pressing the air out using your abdominals. Breathing in and out through the nose if possible. Notice if this part of breathing in this area of the body feels more natural or feels more strenuous than the lower belly breathing, just noticing for you. And then the last piece is the chest breathing, which we're much more familiar with. So resting your hands on your chest, and as you breathe in, letting that chest expand, you might even feel the shoulders naturally rise a bit. Imagine the upper back expanding. You might feel as you breathe into the upper chest that the lower belly kind of pulls in. Good. So bringing your hands now, one to the lower belly, and then one back to the chest. And so we'll connect all three parts of this breathing, but we're going to attempt to start with the lower belly. So you'll fill up the belly. As soon as it's full, extend that expansion into the lung, into the ribs, and then into the chest. So we'll try to do that, and then exhale all the air out. And if you notice any tension building, see if you can just let go of that extra effort and bring some softness to the exercise. So filling the belly, and then the ribs, and then chest and back, and then letting it go. Let's take 2 more rounds of this 3-part breath and then return to natural rhythm of breathing. Releasing your efforts, letting your hands rest on your lap, softening the muscles of the shoulders and the face. And noticing how you feel. Good. So hopefully the 3-part breath will be something that you, if you enjoy it, you can continue to work with it and get more proficient at expanding those different areas of your body. I notice for myself when I isolate, it's really noticeable what areas are tense, and then that helps us to decide what we want to stretch, what really needs to let go. So for today, I wanted to revisit a few things, maybe over the next couple weeks, we'll see. So maybe 5 years ago, I taught a workshop at Temple Isaiah on modern health practices with ancient Jewish roots. And we went through different areas of health and well-being and brought in the ancient teachings of our sages that came from the Torah, commentary, etc., and then applied it to a relevant, how do we use that today? So I wanted to look at one of those today, which is mindfulness, meditation, and reflective activities. So we're going to practice them today. We should practice a little bit already. So in the Hasidic period, the practice of hitbodedut was renewed. This word can be translated as self-seclusion. Like, I know we're all been very secluded, but it's a different kind of seclusion. So it's self-seclusion or making oneself alone. Rebbe Nachman of Breslov in the 1800s considered this to be central to prayer practice. So the practical application of this, per Rebbe Nachman's instruction, find a place in nature where you can be alone for 20 to 30 minutes. Speak out loud. Stream of consciousness style. So just like as if you were, journaling or writing, like stream of consciousness without editing. And speak all that's on your mind and in your heart. And then when you're done speaking, sit in silence for a while. So what happens is this practice creates an opening for the wisdom of divine guidance or your small inner voice to come through. So I practice this sometimes indoors if I don't want to be outside for whatever reason, if the weather isn't good or it's smoky or it's crowded. But really, since we are sheltering in place, and many of us are sheltering in place with other people, we're not really ever truly alone. So my invitation to you is to, especially since the weather is getting a little bit better, is that you find a place outdoors in the next few days. And if you're wearing a mask and you're talking to yourself, no one's going to really see that you're talking to yourself if you're worried about how you're going to come across. But find a place, find a tree, find a park bench, do some monologuing. And then the important piece is to sit in silence afterwards. So just as in yoga, we do lots of movement and then we sit or we lie down in shavasana. That's the whole purpose of yoga, why it was designed, is to move the body to prepare for meditation. And so if you think of that as just spilling out all of the stuff in your mind, your heart, all the clutter, you create some space and then you receive. So that is one of the practices that we can do every day or sometimes during the week if we want to. And then the other practice is a personal ayaka practice. So this can be done a couple of times a day and it's really renewing. It's really a profound difference if you do this even just 1 to 3 times a day. It takes a couple of minutes. And we're going to do it, I think we're going to do it, let's do it now. Let's do it. So close your eyes, and now that you've done some breathing, just check in with your body. And notice whatever it is you're feeling. Ayaka means where are you? As the first question that was posed in the Torah, where are you? God's asking. And it meant physically, but it also can mean where are you spiritually, emotionally, mentally. So noticing how your breath is moving right now, and then noticing how the body is feeling. And then bringing your attention to your emotional self, the condition of your emotions. And you can imagine that part of you as weather. And if you were to receive a weather report from your emotional self, what would it be? Maybe you see weather, maybe you see stormy clouds or wind and rain, or maybe you see sunny skies. What is the weather report of your emotional self today? This helps us to drop out of the head, the cerebral space, and feel into the body, to really open up to the visual sense, the kinesthetic feeling sense, the auditory sense if you hear words. What's your weather report? And then just noticing without trying to change anything or fix anything. So this Ayaka practice is, like I said, really profound, because how many times a day do you actually check in consciously with how you're doing, right? Sometimes we're walking around like, really irritated and spouting off, and we know we're irritated, but like if we sat with that and took some breaths and felt it from the mind dropped into the body, it's actually really helpful. It helps us to relieve the stress that might be building up that we don't even know about. So I'm going to also invite you to practice Ayaka a couple of times this week. So get outside, maybe combine the two. I don't know, it could be amazing. All right, so those are the two practices that I'm introducing to you today. And then we're gonna move into some movement for our special requests for today. So we've got hips and psoas, neck and shoulders, ribs. We've already done some stuff for the ribs. So for the hips, let's first open everything up with our strap, our trusty little strap. And then we'll do some hip work. So lying on your back and get that strap around your bottom of your left foot. I like to wrap my hands around the strap so my arms aren't reaching up, but rather keeping that chest nice and open. And then the right leg can be straight or bent. And first, just notice your foot placement. So flexing the foot, and see if you can get that foot to just the toes to point straight down toward you or be straight. So rather than the toes going out to the side or pigeon-toed in, see if you can press into that strap with the foot pointed. If you were standing on the floor, the foot would be pointed straight ahead in front of you, the toes. And start with that and breathe into the back of the leg. And straighten that leg as much as you can, that left leg. And if that's not possible, it's okay. You just breathe into whatever you're feeling. And then start to turn the leg bones inward and outward. So internal, external rotation of the whole leg. And feeling the movement originating from deep inside the hip socket. So we're working with the hips, starting deep inside, and then we'll start to work layers of the hips. And if you were to imagine that you had, let's say, a paintbrush on your heel, notice the shape that your paintbrush is making. How big is that like horseshoe shape? Good. And then take the straps, both of them in your left hand, and keep your belly pulled in and start to open your leg out to the side. Good. And then bring it right back up. As you do this, you'll want to keep your belly pulled in, inhaling as the leg comes out, and then exhaling as the leg comes up. Good. So we're activating the inner thigh muscle, but we're also stretching it. So the dynamic stretching process here. See if you can keep your right hip rooted toward the floor rather than rolling up. If it is rolling up, just make your range of motion a little smaller. Good, let's do one more. You can pause on that last one and let the leg stay out to the side. Take a breath. Good, as you exhale, bring that leg back up to center. Go ahead and change hands with your strap and bring your leg across your body, and you decide where you're going to stop here. So some of you will go into a twist. Some of you will stay a little more upright with that leg just to get a stretch in the hip. And breathe and really press into your strap. The more you press in and lengthen the leg, the more space you'll create in the hip joint. And then bring the leg back to center. Now, holding the strap with both hands, we're going to bend the knee toward the chest. So you'll kind of use the strap, kind of pull it in toward you. Bend the knee in toward the chest, and then extend the leg. So we're creating compression in the hip joint, and then extending and releasing. As you bend the knee, bring it to the outer edge of that rib cage. So you're not just blocking your range of motion with the ribs. Bring it in as much as you can, and then extend. Good. Breathing in as you bend the knee, and breathing out as you extend. So we're getting a nice little massage in the digestive system. And last one. Good. And release the strap on this side and place that leg down on the floor. So lying flat, take a moment to compare sides. I'm not even kidding. My left leg feels like it's literally a foot longer than my right leg. It's possible that that's the case. All right, let's switch sides. Strap around that right foot, and then wrap the straps around your hand if that works for you, and keep those shoulders down away from your ears. Right foot is flexed, and just pause here and take some breaths. Keep those toes pointing toward your face or toward your nose, and your heel extending to the sky. And then start your internal and external rotation. And noticing on this side, how is the rotation compared to the other side? Do you have more or less movement? Feeling that hip deep in the socket. Good, then pause and take the straps in your right hand. And with your belly engaged, start to bring your leg out to the side until you get a stretch, and then right away engaging the inner thigh, bringing the leg up to center. And breathing in as you move out. Breathing out as you bring the leg back. Do this a few times. On this last time, let's let the legs stay out to the side. Keep your left hip on the floor if possible, and your belly pulled in. And then bend the right knee a little bit, bring the leg up to center, and change hands, and cross the body now. Pressing your foot into the strap. Flexing the foot quite a bit, as much as you can. And then bring the leg back to center and hold on to both straps. You'll reach for the straps this time, right? Because we're going to need to control the movement here. And you'll bend your right knee in toward the side of your rib cage. Get down as much as you can, create some compression in the hip, and then extend the leg. And breathe in and pull the leg toward you, and breathe out, extend. So it's like breaking down a happy baby, basically. Do this a few times. You can pause and hold with the knee close to your ribs. Notice where you feel that. Good, and then extend again. And then release your strap. And straighten that leg out on the floor, just like the other side. We're gonna just shimmy side to side, get those hips flat, and then compare legs. Hopefully it'll feel a little more balanced for you. Okay, let's take a happy baby. So squeeze your knees in toward your chest to start, just and get into a little ball. And then if you want, then open up the knees, still holding on to the shins. This might be where you stop. Or you might start to lift your feet up, but keep your knees bent and hold on to your shins. Or if you can get a hold of your feet, you can try that. Letting the knees open up and maybe rocking side to side. So we're all gonna look different in this. Some days I cannot do this at all. So you might wanna keep your knees just bent and your feet relaxed. And then bring your legs together. And let's take a gentle twist. Just let those knees fall over to the left. If you need to shift your hips over to the right a bit to make room for the twist, go ahead and do that. Just release the back. And breathe. And then changing sides, take your time. Shift those hips over to the left and then bring the knees over to the right. Good, bring the legs back to center and then roll to your side and press yourself up. So you'll want to have your blocks for this. We're going to use our blocks to get into the psoas today. So let's bring the right foot forward. If you're sensitive, if your knees are sensitive, you can always put a little towel under your knees. You can fold a towel a couple of times or even roll your mat to give you extra padding. Otherwise, you'll bring that right foot forward and use your blocks as extensions of your arms so that your chest can stay open the whole time. And we're gonna just dynamically, again, move in and out of our psoas. So we'll sink down. The knee is tracking over the ankle and not in front of the toes. So notice when I bring my foot close, then everything's out of alignment. So I want to bring my foot out far enough that when I bend my knee and sink as low as I can go, that my knee is over my ankle, or maybe it'll be behind my ankle. So sink, sink, sink down, chest is open. And then, like I always say, try not to hang out on those ligaments of the pelvic floor. So you want to engage the pelvic floor muscle. And shift your right hip back a tiny bit and your left hip forward. So you square your hips. So imagine little headlights on the front of your hip bones. And if they were shooting through the night, you'd see them right in front of you. And breathe here. Now, you can stay like this, or if you want to get a little more into that psoas muscle, you can lift your left arm up and just lean over to your right a tiny bit. So you've got this nice extension and side bend. And all of this is just an option. So if it doesn't work for your body today, then just stop wherever does work for your body. And breathe. And come back to center. And now start to shift your hips back and lift those front toes. Bring your blocks with you. And now turn your toes from side to side, like a windshield wiper with your toes. Again, working in the deep into the hips of that right side. And then we'll change. Bring the left foot forward and establish how far out you want to step to keep proper alignment. Good. As you sink down deeply into your lunge, activating your pelvic floor muscles, and then shifting your right hip slightly forward and your left hip back. Usually we tend to have that, in this side, we would tend to have the left hip a little too forward. So we want to square the hips. Relax the shoulders. And either stay here or lift your right arm and lean to the side. And breathe. As you do like a belly breath, you'll feel the hip flexors stretching a little bit more. And then come back to center. Good. And then shift your hips back. Bring your blocks with you, toes point up. And just do some windshield wipers with those toes. Great. All right. So go ahead and bring that front foot back. Let's all take a child's pose. You can take a narrow leg child pose, or you can open your knees and rest here. Okay, let's come on up. We're gonna meet standing with our massage ball. So let's work on the neck and the shoulders today using the ball. So the ball will be in your right hand, and we're just gonna massage the base of the skull on the right side only. Don't go across your spine here. Get up into that little soft spot at the base of the skull and just go from side to side. And then work your way down. Keep your knees and legs soft. And you can work your way down to the top of your shoulder. So we can roll the ball across the top of the shoulder, or sometimes it feels good to hold the ball, press, and then drag the ball. Drag the ball if you don't have jewelry on. Drag the ball across the top of the shoulder, which will help to spread the muscle fibers. And then let your arm rest. And tilt your left ear to your left shoulder. So we're going to open up the side that we just massaged. And then tilt the chin toward the chest, keeping the head to the side. And then start to lift the chin toward the sky and get into the front of the right side of the neck. And then lift the head up. And take a moment to, again, compare the right and left sides. And then change hands with the ball and get into the back of the left side of your neck. Bringing mindful breath to this activity. How do you make this a full body activity? Say you have a lot of focus on the neck and the ball and all of that, but where's your lower body? Are you feeling like you're grounded and connected to the floor beneath you? Is there any place in your body that you could release some tension or stress while you're doing this? Getting into any spots that you need to, maybe dragging the ball across the top of your shoulder. And then letting your arm rest by your side, shake it out. Tilt your right ear to your right shoulder. And then bring the chin down toward your chest. Breathe. And then bring the chin up a little bit toward the sky and feel the stretch in the front of the neck. And then lift the head slowly. Again, comparing sides. Okay. Let's now take the strap and we're going to bring it behind the back. So the palms are facing away. And you can hold the strap in whatever distance, the hands can have whatever distance feels comfortable for you. What we'll do is take a forward fold here. So bending the knees and hinging at your hip crease. So rather than hunching over, we want to feel the movement coming from the hips. And then bring the strap over your head. And keep the shoulders out of the ears. And pull the strap a little bit so you feel some tension between the arms. And take a big breath in and let it go. Couple more. Good. Now bring your hands back toward your hips and release your strap and just stay in your forward fold for a moment. If you need a block to hold on to, just to let yourself hang and have support under your hands, you can use a block. Please allow your knees to bend as much as they need to. Big breath in. Release the head. Good. And then bring your hands to the tops of your thighs, your knees, and look up. And use your hands to press you up with a flat back. Good. Great. And then just do some standing twists. Let your hands, or soft fist, tap your chest and your lower back. And then come to stillness. Let's do our 3 thumbs. So tap your right under your collarbones. You're just going to tap vigorously. Keep your knees soft and breathe. Center of the chest. Let out an ah sound. Big breath in. Keep ahing. Ah, good. And then knock on those ribs. Tap and knock on the ribs. Good, and then shake it out. Good. So we'll take the warm-ups that we did and just apply them to a standing pose. So I'm going to face forward for this. So we're going to take a crescent lunge. So step your right foot forward and come onto the toes of your back foot. Actually, maybe I'll go sideways so that you can just see the alignment. So the alignment is that front knee, same thing. It's not going to go past the toes or past the ankle. And you're going to bend the front knee and bend the back knee so that you're coming down a little bit lower. Good. And then feel your hips and think of those headlights and have those headlights shine straight forward. And then the arms can come up overhead, or if balance is a challenge here, you can use your arms to help you with balance by bringing them out to the side in a goalpost shape or open-hearted shape. So choose your arm position. Bend a little bit more and tuck your tailbone underneath you. As you tilt your tailbone under you, you'll target the psoas. And breathe. One more breath. Bring your hands to your heart. And then flatten the back foot onto the mat. So back foot is now flat and the back leg is straight. Bend that front knee and open up your arms for warrior 2. Draw the shoulders together, open up the chest. And breathe. Bring your hands to your heart and step your back foot up to meet your front foot. And take a nice big breath in, reach up. And exhale, you can either dive forward or you can just bring your hands to your heart, whatever works for your body. If you're folded forward, you'll rise up with a flat back. Good, and now we'll take the second side. So bring the left foot forward and then come under the toes of your back foot. Hips face forward, bend the knees. So both knees are bent. Find a nice deep stretch in that. Not only the hip flexor, but your quadricep on the side. And then find your arm position. Hold your belly in, so pull the lower belly in and then scoop your tailbone underneath you a little bit more to get into the hip flexor. This takes a lot of focus and breath. This is a challenging balancing pose for many. Requires a lot of strength. One more breath. Good. Bring your hands to your heart and then flatten that back foot on your mat. That leg is turned in just a little bit and come into your warrior 2 pose. Settle those shoulders down away from your ears. Gaze over that left hand and feel your strength. Bring your hands to your heart. Keep your legs wide, but turn the left toes forward. So we're coming into our forward fold here, this wide-legged prasarita pose. So toes are pointed forward, hinging again at the hips, and coming either halfway down with a block, if you need it, or all the way down, letting the head go. And release your efforts. You can shift from side to side. You can have a little bend in your knees if you need it, Let the whole upper body release if you're bent all the way over. Good. Press into your hands to help you come halfway up, and then heel toe those feet in toward each other and come on up nice and slow. Good. Shake out your legs. We're going to come to our seat. And we'll take a seated twist today. So bring your right foot close to your bottom. So right foot is close to the bottom. Left foot's gonna either cross over your right knee or just keep it close to you. So what will determine which one you do is if you cross your foot over and your whole left butt cheek comes off the floor, then you will want to keep your foot just close to you. So you want to feel the sits bones and the meat of your glutes connected to the floor. So choose your pose is going to be for that lower body. And then we're all going to turn and look over the left shoulder. So holding onto your knee with your hand or your elbow crook, and just start to turn and twist. Keeping the shoulders down and the chest open. And then come back to center. Okay, what we're going to do from here is bring the right foot to the floor, and then bring the left foot over your right knee or thigh. So this will be different for everyone. You might have to straighten your leg almost all the way to get that leg up. But then once you do, you can lean back or you can use your hand to kind of guide your leg back to you. So we're really just taking a pigeon pose, modified pigeon or figure four pose, but we're seated. And so you have lots and lots of control over how much you want to be feeling. So what we don't want to do is sink into our shoulders like this, like you're just hanging out at the beach or at the park. You really want to keep your upper body active, press into the floor, and open the heart. And keep the left foot flexed. If this is really out of reach for you today, or you just hate this pose, you can take your figure four stretch, no problem. Good, and we'll release. And now we'll take our twist. Go ahead and shake your legs out. And then now we'll take our twist to the other side. So the left foot's going to come into the tush, and then the right foot is going to either pull in close or cross over. Just as long as you can feel those sits bones. And then we will all turn and look over the right shoulder, right side. Use your back hand to help prop you up. Unwind your twist and change this into your figure four pose. So left foot's going to be on the floor, right ankle is going to cross over the left knee or thigh, and then you control the amount of sensation by leaning back or bringing your foot closer or farther away from your body. Flex the right foot. And soften your jaw. And softly release. Go ahead and shake your legs out. Give them some taps. And then come onto your back. On your way down for Shavasana, if there's anything else you want to do for your body, take the next couple of minutes to do that. Otherwise, we'll come to a resting pose. Some of you might want to do a little last twist or legs up with a block under your sacrum, anything you need, listening to your body. The sound of our meditation bowl will be a signal for you to find some stillness in the body and start to settle into deep rest. Letting your body find stillness. Shalom, 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 shalom. 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 We reach for you, our God, from our quiet places. May we stand still for a brief moment and listen to the rain. Stand still for a brief moment and watch the play of sunlight and shadow on the leaves. For a brief moment, listen to the world. Quiet places and stillness where we will hear our own best impulses speak. Quiet places and stillness from which we will reach out to each other. We find strength in silence, and with this strength, we will turn again to your service. Take your time, feeling the space that you're in, awakening your body, breathing a little more deeply. And take all the time you need to rise up to a seated position. Even though we are all muted in the class, please feel free to join in this chant so that we can feel each other's hearts and each other's wish for peace for each other and for the world. Shalom, 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 shalom. May all beings have shalom, have peace. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free. May it be so. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Shalom.